righty. So, welcome back to another episode of the Esports Report. I am your very silly host, Ashley Hodge, still enjoying that sweet, sweet summer break, enjoying every minute of it. And it gives me a time to, catch up on my podcast and video editing and all the other stuff that I normally don't do during the school year because I'm just very busy. In this episode, we're going to look at the official rule book for PLAYVS League of Legends. So this episode is specifically for high schools who are running League of Legends teams. It's very important that you know the rules before game day and game day protocol. So I'm going to show you how to get to this from the PLAYVS website. I will be right back. Welcome back. And today we're going to be looking into the official rules for PLAYVS League of Legends. So let me share my screen with you and I will show you where to go. So as you can see, I am at the PLAYVS website. So it is PLAYVS.com. So from here, where you will go is Esports 101. Still can't talk. Esports 101. And then right here to resources. And you'll actually see it is the third tab called Game Rules. So if you click on that, you will find the rules for every game. And here I thought that League of Legends was going to be a short episode. But as you can see, it has more to talk about than some of the other games. All right, so let's scroll on up here to League of Legends. So the very first article is titled, "What is League of Legends?" Now, I'll briefly go through this. I'm not going to read this to you. You can kind of read this on your own. It basically describes the game objectives of League of Legends, what are some good team strategies for you, why item building is important, terms that you need to know, and resources for improving your play. So you can peruse that on your own. The very next thing is how to download League of Legends. I'm not going to go through that because I'm not interested in it. You can read that on your own. Here's what we really want to look at today is the League of Legends Rulebook. So you will see it is quite extensive, as everything is. So let's just go ahead and get into this. So game rules. So unintentional disconnection, that is when a player loses connection due to a problem with your computer, your network, or the game itself. Intentional disconnection is when a player or a student disconnects on purpose, like quitting the game because they're mad because they're losing. So people do intentionally disconnect. And if that happens in a League of Legends game, that's very bad because you really cannot afford a 4v5. You can't have a player missing because of how team-based that game is. So the next thing is a server crash. That is when all players lose connection due to an issue with the game server, PLAYVS, or internet instability. All right. So game record, a game of record, a GOR, refers to a game where all 10 players have loaded, which has progressed to the point of meaningful interaction between opposing teams. Once the game attains the GOR status, the period ends in which incidental restarts may be permitted, and a game will be considered official from that point onward. So basically, let's say your internet's good to go, but your opponent's internet is not good to go. And let's say you've been playing 15 minutes and suddenly it crashes. According to this, that game is considered official because all 10 players loaded in and they were playing for a significant amount of time. Because I have seen entire League of Legends teams quit and claim it was a disconnect, and they actually took a forfeit because it was already a GOR. So just be aware of that. So here are some things about game restarts. So after the establishment of a GOR, the game restarts will be allowed only under limited conditions. So this is how you establish a GOR. So this means it is an official game if this happens. Any attack or ability is landed on a minion, jungle creeps, structure, or enemy champions. Line of sight is established between player and opposing team. Setting foot, establishing vision, or targeting skill shot ability in the opponent's jungle by either team, which includes either leaving the river or entering the brush connected to the enemy jungle. And then the game timer reaches 2 minutes. So basically, if your team has attacked a minion or towers or the enemy, if you have seen your enemy, if you have vision in your jungle, if you have gotten into the enemy jungle, and if the game has been going on for 2 minutes, that is a GOR. So if you lose internet after that, there is nothing that can be done. Okay. Stoppage of play. If a player intentionally disconnects without notifying a coach or league official or pausing, a league official is not required to enforce a stoppage. During any pause or stoppage, players may not leave the match area unless authorized by their coach. So this has happened. Sometimes we'll be in a match and then the other team will pause it for some reason, which is a direct pause. Sorry. So this one above here is if a player leaves and doesn't tell anybody, the coach doesn't have to stop it. Like if I'm playing or my kids are playing and the jungler gets mad and disconnects and leaves, I don't have to stop. I don't have to require a stop. And the other team, doesn't have to require one either. Like I can ask them for one, but they don't have to grant it to me. So that's what that says. And then of course you have the direct pause. So league officials may order a pause of the match or execute a pause command on any player station at any time. So that's the coach. So the coach can issue a pause. Students aren't really supposed to do it. But as it says right here, they can. Players may only pause a match immediately following any event described below, but must signal a head coach immediately after the pause and identify the reason. So students really should not be pausing League of Legends matches. However, if any of the following things below happen, a student can pause. So number one, an unintentional disconnection. Maybe the internet went out. Maybe the computer decided it needed to restart at that exact time. That's an unintentional disconnection. The second thing is a hardware or software malfunction, i.e., your monitor goes out, the keyboard stops working, the mouse stops working, or some kind of game glitch. So it says player illness, injury, or disability is not an acceptable reason for a player pause. In such a situation, the team must alert a league official who may, in his or her sole discretion, grant a pause in order to evaluate the identified players to determine whether the player is ready, willing, and able to continue playing within a reasonable period of time, as determined by the league official, but not to exceed a few minutes. Whew, that's a long sentence. So basically, coaches, if your player is sick or injured or disabled, that is not an acceptable reason for a student to pause the game. Um, if this happens and you want to pause the game, you're going to have to contact PLAYVS in the support chat, tell them what's going on, and they're going to have to make the call whether you pause the game or not. But meanwhile, the game will continue. Now, what you can do is reach out to the coach that you're playing against, explain the problem, and work out a pause that way. Oh, that was a long sentence. Yeah. So if the league official determines the identified player is not able to continue playing within reasonable periods of time, then the identified player's team shall forfeit unless a league official in his or her discretion determines that the game is subject to be awarded a game victory. All right. So resuming the game. When the pausing team is ready to unpause the game, a player from each team must confirm the resumption by typing ready or R in chat. To communicate with the opponent, players must enter type /all, followed by the space and the message, and then press enter again to send the message. Unauthorized pause. So it's very important that your students do not pause without permission. If a player pauses or unpauses a game without permission from the coaches, it will be considered unfair play and penalties will be applied at the discretion of the league officials. So let's say I'm playing a game and the enemy keeps pausing because they keep losing. I'm on support with PLAYVS, telling them what has happened, and the league official will step in and make the decision and apply the penalties from there. A game restarts. So the decision which the conditions shall justify a game restart are solely at the discretion of the league officials. All right. And then restarts after GOR. The following is an example of situations in which the game may be restarted after the GOR has been established. All right, so let's say the game experiences a critical bug at any point during the match, which significantly alters game stats or gameplay mechanics. That's the first one. The second one, if the league official determines that the environmental conditions, which are unfair, i.e. excessive noise, hostile weather, unacceptable safety risk. The next one is a controlled environment. Certain conditions may be preserved in the event of a restart game that has not reached GOR, including without limitations, picks and bans or summoner spells. If, however, a match has reached GOR, league officials shall not retain any settings. Player confirmation of settings. Each team captain, the top laner, shall verify that every player on his or her team has finalized their intended game settings. This includes runes, masteries, control, and GUI before the GOR is established. Any error in verification is not grounds for a game restart after the GOR is established. So basically, if your top laner meant to pick a certain set of runes and they didn't, and they want to restart the game because they goofed up, you're not going to be able to restart. So basically, make sure that your champions, this is really for students and coaches, make sure that your students' rune pages are set up, their masteries are set up, their key bindings are set up the way they want them, because you're not going to be able to restart a game just because a kid goofed up and didn't have the correct settings. All right, so roster requirements. Each team is to maintain at all times during the season one coach and at least 5 players in the starting lineup. It is recommended that a team also maintain substitutes. So make sure if you're playing League of Legends that you have substitutes. A lot of times when I have played, I have only 5 children, and then one of them gets COVID during the COVID pandemic, the ongoing pandemic, and then suddenly we had to forfeit. So just make sure that you have starters, and then you have alternatives or substitute players. So it says no individual may hold 2 or more roles listed above. So your starting players would be considered your varsity players. Those are the best of the best. Those are the ones who you want to take your team to victory. So, like I mentioned before in a previous episode, each school gets 2 teams per game. So, you can have 2 League of Legends teams. One of them can be the team of starters, which is your varsity team, and the other one could be alternatives and also JV. Okay. So it pretty much just tells you that players on your bench may be used for any match which the team is competing within a assigned league. And basically, they are going to appear under your team. So I might have a team of 5, and then underneath that, you would see your subs that were assigned to that team. Now, I will tell you, very important, during playoffs, substitutes are locked 1 week before playoffs begin. So you have 1 week before those playoffs to lock in your teams, because once those rosters are locked, you cannot make any changes to them. So that's very important. Let's see. A player is only allowed to compete for the school they are enrolled in. A player will not be able to compete for more than one school simultaneously, and therefore cannot be listed on the roster for more than one school. And how do we verify this? The team's coach will verify it, and then the athletic director verifies it, and then PLAYVS verifies it. So the roster size, it pretty much tells you League of Legends has a team of 5 players. Each player has a certain role or position. So you have top, jungle, mid, ADC, and support. Substitutes, you can have, it says 5. You can have 5 bench players during the season and prior to the week before playoffs. So that's good. You can have 10 total. All right. Custom matches. Oh, wait, one more thing. Substitutes, they must be enrolled on a roster to play. They can't just be in your program and suddenly they pop up on a team. They have to be attached to a specific team. And if you're going to switch somebody out, the switch should be done at least 15 minutes before the game. And you must communicate this through the match lobby and confirm with the other team's coach. So, for example, let's say my team and another team has played 1 game of League of Legends, and I want to swap out my top lane. I would make the swap in the PLAYVS website, and I would contact the other coach and let them know, hey, I'm swapping Donkey Dugout for Ride or Die 21, and tell them I'm swapping them out. All right. So this one is really a League of Legends specific rule. Basically, you have a summoner account and you start at level 1, and they're basically saying, hey, we recommend that you reach at least level 10 so you can acquire all the spells that you need for the game and create custom rune pages. And this is very important. Just because you reach level 10 does not mean you automatically get champion unlock. Or just because you have champion unlock, that doesn't mean that you're going to be a level 10 summoner. You have to get that level 10 to get very important spells that you will need and custom rune pages. Okay. So role and lane swapping. This is kind of a big one. Coaches, it's very important that you know the position order. When your kids sign into the League of Legends match, they should be in this position order. So top laner is first, jungle is second, mid is third, bot is fourth, and support is fifth. So it's actually in rows. So at the very first row, you should have your top laner, and that is how they should log into the match and position themselves. And then it says players are free to swap during champion select for any reason. So your jungler and ADC can swap champions if they want to. This is actually a legit strategy. If I have a jungler and I know that that jungler is only good with I don't know, Master Yi. As the mid, I might select it just so the other team can't get it, and then I can swap it with my jungler, and my jungler could get the champion that I wanted. All right, so it says player equipment. So school should have their own equipment for their players. You should have computers, laptops. You should have mice, keyboard, headsets, table and chair, Ethernet, or Wi-Fi connections. And then down here, you have the minimum requirements for these games. It's got it for Windows and it's got it for Mac. So you can look at those on your own. So the next thing we have is the league structure. So it defines a game. It says a game is determined, or a winner is really determined by a completion of the final objective, team surrender, or team forfeit. So when you're playing League of Legends, you're going to play a set of 2 games in which the players determine the win-losses for regular season placement. For play versus the playoffs, a match is a set of games that is played until one team wins a majority of the total games. For example, winning 2 out of 3. And then you have your block periods, which this is usually a 2 to 3 week regular season. Each block is consistent of 2 or 3 matches that must be completed within that specific block. Because if it's the last week before playoffs and you don't make up a game in time, the rest of the schools can't wait on you to make up your game. So it's very important that you make up your makeup games within a specific block. All right. So there are different phases when you're involved in esports. The very first phase is preseason, which I do not participate in. And this is why I don't participate in preseason. Most of the time, it's just really early when it starts. And I'm still trying to figure out which one of my students are going to actually play or not. And getting the equipment updated like that quickly, it's just a lot of stress, really. So I don't participate in preseason. I actually use preseason to set up my rosters and get my equipment upgraded and ready to go. After that, you have regular season, which is about 2 to 3 weeks, and then you have playoffs. So each of those phases has its own format. So right here, it says scheduled league players will occur over a 3-month period of time. So I don't know why I said 2 to 3 weeks, because I can't read. The season is not 2 to 3 weeks. That would be insane. And very short. It's 3 months. So I apologize. So preseason, basically what it is you can compete in a practice week. The results will not be recorded. And it's really a good way for you to test your equipment if you're ready and good to go. I'm never ready and good to go when preseason rolls around. So it says preseason matches for each team will be played in a 2-game set. Wins or losses for each match will not be counted towards your regular season. Preseason matches also follow the blind pick format. And this is because maybe you don't have League Unlocked on your student accounts yet. Important Summoner level 3 is required for blind pick. So you need to get that Summoner level up. And the only way you do that in League of Legends is playing games. So play those games and get to level 10. Okay. Regular season. Basically, you will play a minimum of 14 games per season. And the ranking in the season kind of determines who makes playoffs. So regular season matches are two games. Both games in a scheduled match must be played and completed for a match to be considered complete. So you can't play one game and then try to reschedule the second game. Both of the games have to be played together to be counted as a match. And then you have to have your rosters, and those have to be set. And then, of course, you do have tiebreakers that, sometimes need to happen. So basically, it tells you, hey, you can go to section 5.3 in the high school competitions rule book to see how we break ties. Then we go into playoffs. So playoff matches between each team will be best of 3. So we add one more match there. Winners of each match will advance in the form of a bracket. Teams in playoffs will compete in a single elimination bracket until only 2 teams remain. And then the final teams move on to the state esports championship finals. It's pretty cool. So also you have to report your wins and losses. So you need to submit these within an hour of the match. Otherwise, your match goes in quarantine and you're going to be getting an email from PLAYVS saying, hey, we need these match results. All right. So the finals, it will say, hey, it consists of the top 2 teams and it is best of 3. And again, it says you need to have 5 players and your substitutes need to be attached to the roster. Okay. So it talks about equipment testing. So basically, before a match, you need to test your equipment and make sure that it works. And I'm not talking about 5 minutes before match, 10 minutes before match. I'm talking about like 3 or 4 days before match. Make sure your stuff is updated and make sure it works. So this is important. Timeliness of match starts. I've actually had a lot of teams lose matches because they showed up too late into the lobby. Basically, if you have a problem, like an internet problem, equipment problem, whatever, you only get 30 minutes. You get 30 minutes to fix your problem. And if you try to get into the lobby after 30 minutes, you will forfeit the match. That's the breaks. The teachers, they work very hard throughout the day and then they're doing extra stuff by staying late for these esports competitions. And you just don't, especially League of Legends matches, because they're so long, they can be very long. You really need them to start at 4 if you want to get home by 6:30. So yeah, 30 minutes. If you are in that lobby at 4:31, you have forfeited your match. Okay. So just keep that in mind. And then the match lobby order should be in the correct position: top, jungle, mid, bot, support. Okay. And then you have your game setup. Basically, once all 10 players are in the game lobby, the top laners for both teams say, hey, we're ready. And whoever the home team was, whoever got the invite first, they will click start. Also known as the room owner, they will start the game. How do you know that you're the room owner? You will see at the bottom of the screen it says start, and you'll push that. And then the band pick phase will begin. All right, so side selection during regular season. All right, team shown on the left in a match overview display as blue side will have the side selection in game 1. So basically, if you are blue, you have side selection. The team on the right side, displayed as purple or red, will have that side. So basically, if you're blue, that is the home team. Red is away. That's how it's worked in all the other esports, and I'm sure that's how that works here. So if a side is not selected, the team will default to the blue side. In the event that a team has sided select for a game, but is not the first team to enter the lobby, the opponent should move to the red side until they arrive. Basically, let's say I'm blue. My team is blue. We're the home team, but the other team gets into the lobby first and they're on the blue side. They should move to the red side and let my players in on the blue side. That's basically what they're saying. That, you might have to switch sides to get all your people in the way they need to be in. And then in playoffs, the higher ranked seed will have the side selection for odd number games. For examples, game 1 and 3. So if I am ranked 24, but we're playing a ranked 4 team, they get to pick what side they're going to be on for games 1 and 3. And then the lower seed will select for the even games. All right. And then you have draft mode. So this is how you pick your champions. You have blue team as represented A, red team as represented as B. And then it tells you how they pick and how they ban. And then you have, a whoopsie doodle. What happens if you accidentally select the wrong champion and you lock them in? So what it says, if this happens, the team who made the mistake must report the mistake to the coach of the opposing team. If the game begins before the mistake is corrected, the player may pause the game as soon as it loads and discuss the situation in the chat with the coaches. Now, listen, I have seen this. I have seen players claim that they accidentally picked or banned the wrong champion, and it's like 10 or 15 minutes into a game, it's like, nah, fam, it's not happening. I'm sorry. If you pick somebody and you immediately realize, oh, I've made a mistake, immediately contact the coach. That way, at the beginning of the game, you, your coach, and the other coach can kind of work out a deal. So in the event the mistake or game client made the mistake, the pick or ban list should be immediately restarted. So let's say League of Legends client messed up for some reason and you picked the wrong thing, the wrong champion because of that. You can immediately restart. The draft should be restarted and brought back to the point which the error occurred so that the team can correct this mistake. So basically what that means, the only person who should be making a champion correction selection is the person who messed up. So let's say top is already picked, jungle is picked, mid is picked. Those picks should be the same. The only person who gets to change is the person who goofed up. So to reset a match, every player must exit the game using the escape key. Once all 10 players have left the game, a new lobby will be created. And then you have your results. So how do you post results? So it says results will be automatically recorded after a match has ended. In the event that a player uses a League of Legends account that is not connected to their PLAYVS profile, the match will automatically be quarantined and coaches will need to contact support. This happened to me. One of my students changed their summoner name and did not link the new summoner name with their PLAYVS profile account. So guess what? Even though my team won, we got a recorded loss because of what that student did. And it was very frustrating. So make sure that your kids do not change their summoner names, because if they do and they play a match and that is not linked to the PLAYVS profile account, you are going to lose the match and take a forfeit. Okay. So sometimes the tournament codes do not work, and that is a pain in the butt. So what you need to do is to create a custom match. So whoever the home team is, they're the ones who set up the match, and then you would manually turn in the results. And of course, you can always contact support with PLAYVS, and they will help you. Okay, and then we have the next match. So basically, after you finish one match, you will see your next match pop up within the next couple of days. And then if you forfeit, matches won by forfeit will be reported by the minimum score it would take for a team to win. So 2-0 or 3-0. And then, of course, it says, hey, reach out to us if you have any comments, questions, or problems. So that is the official rule book for League of Legends. The other thing I want to look at with everybody is how you set it up on game day. We do need to talk about champion unlocked, and we do need to talk about how do you scout your opponents. So game day protocol has actually gotten a lot easier since 2017. Basically, you have this tutorial that you can watch. It'll show you how to like set up. But what it recommends is, hey, at least 1 hour before your match, and that's easier for some than others. Because my school gets out at 3:20. And sixth period is usually like a pretty big class full of freshmen. So I can't really afford to get distracted trying to set up esports stuff when I'm trying to wrangle 39th graders. So like in one of my upper level classes, like fifth period, for example, towards the end, we might do this as a class because I do teach some esports students in those classes. But basically, it says, hey, restart your computer, update the patch, make sure that you restart your computer, you launch the Riot client app, and you make sure that League of Legends is updated and good to go. Play Versus says, hey, use student leaders to assist coaches in checking your tech. Students are actually pretty good at that. So if you have a problem, chances are a student knows what to do. Give your IT department a heads up to let them know, hey, I need you guys on standby because my matches are starting today. And just make sure that your IT is not doing network maintenance that will ruin your games, because I also have that happen before. So match setup steps. This is at match time. So all matches begin at 4. And remember, you only have 30 minutes to get into the match lobby. If you log in at 4:31, I'm sorry, boo-boo, you've forfeited because you're 1 minute past that time. So being on time is very important, and communication is very important. So basically, all games in a scheduled match must be played and completed for a match to be considered complete. So if it's regular season and it's 2 games, you have to play both games for the match to be considered complete. So basically, what happens is your students log into their PlayVS account, and then you go to the dashboard. From the dashboard, you'll see something called your match lineup, and then you'll see something that says view match lobby, and you click on that. So there is a tab, it's called mission control, and all the students should see copy game 1 code. It's usually a button, and the tournament code is automatically going to be copied. And then it says, hey, remember that players will need to get a new code between game 1 and game 2. Keep the dashboard open. So basically, once game 1 is done, players would then go to the PlayVS dashboard and get the game 2 code and paste that. So basically, once you have your code, you open up your League of Legends client. Make sure, and this is my fault with what happened with that student, but make sure that the players are logging in with the same account information, the same summoner name that matches their summoner name that they put in that PlayVS profile. And then click play, and then click the trophy button at the top right corner, enter the tournament code. Note, if the tournament code is not copied over or is missing entirely, please create a custom match. So let's say you get a tournament code, it doesn't work, you keep trying, you can't figure it out. So what you're going to do is create a custom match. So it says the home team is going to create the match. So that is the blue team. So if you are blue, you are home, you create the match. So what you do is you choose a team captain. The captain will create the match. The rest of the team will join the custom match, and then you want to send the game name and password to the other coach so those players can join and you guys can play. So this is how your captains will make their match. You click play, you click Summoner's Rift, you click custom to create a match, you click check settings, change the game type to tournament draft, and click allow spectators. And then put in a game name. This should be your team name. And then put in a password. They recommend LOL1 for game 1, and then LOL2 for game 2. And then how do you join a match if you're like the opponent and you're trying to join a custom match? What you do is click play, then select custom, look for the team captain's name that they named their game in the match list, put in the password, and move to the correct team. After that, what you're going to need to do is take a screenshot of the wins and losses and report those manually. So let's say that it's the beginning of the week and I've emailed all the coaches and the teams that I'm going to play that week. And let's say that I didn't hear from like one team, one coach. Usually the day before the match, I will contact them again. And then 30 minutes before the match, I will contact them again. But let's say they don't respond to me. They don't show up. So in the event that you're not able to get in touch with your opponent 30 minutes after the start of the match, you can submit a forfeit request. Submitting a forfeit request needs to go through the support chat on the website. So you must be logged in and your ad blocker must be disabled and you must have some sort of proof to confirm the forfeit. So what I would do is I would have all your kids in the League of Legends lobby. And then I would take a screenshot of that and make sure you get them in the lobby, the other side empty, and then the time, like what time it is in the bottom corner of the computer. So, and then I would submit that as proof. And then if you had emailed them and they never responded, I will equally submit that as proof. So it says proof must be sufficiently show that the opposing team was not ready to play. All right, so that's pretty much how you set it up on game day. Let's look at League of Legends Champion Unlocked. And I bragged about this. So basically, if your students play League of Legends, they will get all of the champions unlocked, but they do not stay unlocked the entire time. Basically, they unlock for the season. After the season is over, they lock. So basically, for you to get these champions, you have to be enrolled in the League of Legends as a starting player or a substitute player for a team. And then your account must be connected. Players and coaches must have their League of Legends accounts connected. Okay. So let's say you've done that and you're still having problems. It says, hey, log out, log back in, make sure your account information is correct, uninstall League of Legends and reinstall it. And then, of course, if you still can't access your champions by then, contact the PLAYVS support. But Champion Unlocked is great. I enjoy it. It lets you play all of the champions and you don't have to pay for them. And that's quite expensive. So it's good that they do that. And then how to scout my enemies, my opponents for League of Legends. So you're going to be looking at some numbers. You got to understand these stats. And what we like to do, and PLAYVS isn't recommending this, but what I like to do is I like to go to summoner.op.gg. Maybe that's not it. There it is. Yeah, so sorry, it's na.op.gg /summoner. And basically what you can do is you can type in the name of somebody. So let's say this is my account, my alt account. Look, there I am. So you put in their summoner name and you can get like a whole summary on them. So if you go to champions, it should tell you the champions. You can go and look by season. So I haven't played rank in a very long time, so you're not going to see anything for there. But basically, if they play a lot, it'll show you the champions they play, their rank, their score, how they did. And this is a great way to scout out your opponent. So just remember that's na.op.gg. Now, PLAYVS when they're talking about scouting out their League of Legends opponents, they're talking about using their team profile page in their website. So basically, you can look at the team and individual player stats, and these stats are from play versus matches only. So that's why I like the na.op.gg, because it's not just play versus matches, it's any match in League of Legends that they've played that you can look up. Now, my students are probably going to be salty that I told you guys that, but that is a great way to scout out your enemy team. So it's telling you can go to recent games and you can see the last 3 matches. So it'll tell you the champions, the bans, the KDA, how much gold, and the CS. And then you can click on the roster and it will show you who played what. Like what student played what position. And then it will tell you the match results if the school won or lost. And you can look at the team stat standing. That's really it. So again, I recommend na.op.gg. So that is how you scout. So that's basically all of the League of Legends stuff that I want to talk about today. Remember, you can look at the what is League of Legends and how to download it. I think going over the rulebook was important. Talking about game day protocol was important. Talking about champion select and giving you a little bit of advice on how to scout your opponents. All right. So that's the episode, a deep dive into the rules of League of Legends for GHSA's Play versus League. I hope you found it informational. I have nothing to rant about. Life's pretty good. I've enjoyed doing the podcast. I've enjoyed doing some video work, editing, things like that. I've just enjoyed having this opportunity to, be creative. I really enjoy doing this podcast, and I hope to continue to keep doing it. I love esports. I love being involved with esports. I love helping get new schools started. I love talking about like the academic sides of esports. Video games has just been ingrained in me from a young age. My grandpa and I used to talk about video games together, and he unfortunately passed away about 8 months ago. And I really wish that he had lived long enough to see me start the esports report and to join the Riot Scholastic Board. Like, I really think he would have loved talking about all that. And I can just say that I hope he's proud of me. I know he was. So yeah, can't really complain about too much these days. I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for all the listeners. I hope that this really helps you with your program or your projects or whatever it is you want to do. Reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, the email, and, just free to let us know what you're thinking. Other than that, I hope you peeps have a great day. And as always, bye.